Guest is Patrick Collins, former U.S. Attorney, now head of the Illinois Reform Commission. Before we get to the reforms, I'm just wondering, for you as an attorney, now in private practice at Perkins Coie, before that in the U.S. Attorney's Office, Rod Blagojevich made a strategic decision not to be in town when this indictment came down because he knew when it was coming. He and his wife and family were at Disney World. Is that a good stratagem or not a good stratagem?
Well, again, as a father, I can see he knew it was coming, and he's got 2 young kids, and they've obviously gone through a horrible time as children, and I think getting them out of town as a father made a lot of sense because he knew this was coming. Everybody knew Thursday was going to be the day. So I certainly wouldn't fault him. I don't think the general public would fault him. I mean, Disney World, however, Mickey Mouse, it also is a fairly extravagant vacation.
What we're seeing, by the way, is the tape that was shot by an enterprising reporter in Florida who got into the spa where they were and shot them, though Mrs. Blagojevich and some other man protested.
Yeah, and well, I think part of the problem is he's done this national tour, gone on Letterman, gone on Barbara Walters. He can't now want the privacy of the private citizen. So I think people are forgiving in understanding of family. I think Disney World was probably not the best choice, but I don't think that's going to matter at the end of the day in terms of a jury 2 years from now when this case goes to trial.
Talking about a forgiving public, we're at a point where Illinois has been embarrassed just about every possible way that it can be in terms of public corruption. Governor Quinn has formed this commission in the hopes that this is the moment when Illinois will start changing the rules because it's one of only 4 states that doesn't have, among other things, limits of campaign contributions. What do you honestly think that you can push through this legislature by the end of May?
Again, we have this conversation, and the question is what's possible, and I think events like Thursday's indictment and the steady stream of abuse that this state has taken since December and Ryan and everything before that means it's possible. It is not going to happen, nothing's going to happen unless the legislators know that there will be consequences politically if they don't. And events like Thursday in the aftermath, in the steady drumbeat, I think are the only ways, and people calling their legislators, in engaging the system, is the only way it's going to happen. I mean, but for that, if this indictment happened in, June, I don't think we have a prayer. I think
because the legislature is out of session.
Right. This is their April. I mean, they're gonna be in session in April and May, and then they're done. So this is a great time.
At your news conference, you presented a big bucket of mail, saying it was just one small drop in what's come into the Illinois Reform Commission in terms of citizen complaints. Do you think that there is a rebellion truly out there, some sort of citizen insurgency that's going to hammer Springfield?
On parking meters, yes. On pay-to-play government, I think it takes more. I think there's so much depression, really, when people see these indictments. They don't have to put the meter, they don't have to put the money in the meter, which is sort of an immediate thing. This stuff is just so overwhelming, and it seems so insurmountable. I think there's the average person, I hear it so much, says, they'll find a way. Yeah, you'll pass the laws, but they'll find a way. And it's hard to say that's crazy, because that is not crazy, but that's got to be a start. I also believe that the laws are only a part of it. There is a culture issue, and I've said that since we began as the commission, and our fellow commissioners all believe the same. And that can't change with the law. That has to change with attitudes. But the media, the Tribune, you obviously do it. Cass, the Sun-Times, Daily Herald. There has to be a constant pressure, and I don't think people really. I understand Springfield as well as I did not understand Springfield that as well as I think I do now. Everybody has to take their TV trucks down there, because that is where this is happening.
I polled for Sunday Sun-Times column the top leaders, the 4 tops, and the constitutional officers. And the responses I got back, and they were all actually, they all responded and were thoughtful. Mike Madigan said, campaign contribution limits like $2,400 pose the possibility that a self-funder, a wealthy candidate, gets a jump and you don't have as much diversity in the legislature. Tom Cross, the Republican minority leader, said campaign contribution limits need to be in a constellation of other things. There seems to be some pushback on the idea that you can do contribution limits and keep democracy running?
I fundamentally disagree, and I also just think, you know, the burden of proof is shifted to those who say no change is necessary. To those, the people who want the status quo, to me, given all that we've gone through, have an obligation to present an argument that you know, has merit with some evidence. 46 states now have limits. The federal government, the federal system has limits. You know, there are some scandals in the federal system, but they're not like our scandals. Rod Blagojevich's principal problem is he raised 435 contributions of $25,000 or more. The money was flowing in over the transom, and he was giving it out. People don't give big money to any politician without expecting something in return. That's got to be a starting point. This idea of, you know, self-funders, you know, we've had the rich guys. You know what? The rich guys haven't done that well in this system. But putting some limits on it is going to keep the bad money out, importantly, first. And so I really think, you know, for folks to say no on this, then the question is, okay, so what's the solution? Status quo? That can't be. That just can't be.
And so when you go down to Springfield, and we talked about this at your news conference, I mean, there are some down there winking and nodding and saying, this guy is well-intentioned, your commission's very impressive, David Hoffman, City Inspector General, Sheila Simon, Father Dennis Holtschneider, but, you know, you're novices, and it's not going to fly. Well,
we are novices. We, however, have engaged the system. I mean, I've lived 12 years and saw the scandals. David Hoffman's done it. Sheila Simon, you know, has a father and has lived through this stuff. We have Scott Willis is a victim of corruption. Pam Davis, a whistleblower. So we're not novices in the sense of understanding what the problems are with the system. And the other thing is to say there are some good bills in the hopper that address this. And the question is, are they going to get a vote? And are the leaders going to let them be voted on? And then thumbs up or thumbs down. And if people say no and are willing to stand by their vote, that's democracy, and I can live with that.
Patrick Collins, Illinois Reform Commission, thank you very much for joining us on
Thanks
City Desk. We'll keep talking about this. Thank you for your time this Sunday morning. To all of you watching, have a great Sunday. We hope you'll join us for the news on Monday. I'm Carol Marie.